Good afternoon is what I would usually say during this time, but we've got a rare morning show today, everybody. It is 11 a.m. here in a good old Central Time in Oklahoma, and so that usually means it's our fall break show, or, well, any break show, to be honest with you. But we have a rare show today. We've got a lot to talk about. Playoff baseball, NFL, a big week of college football. We've got so much to talk about. I'm Cade Kennedy, as always. Welcome back to the Guys Who Stare at Stats. And as always, the important question of the morning as I introduce my co-hosts. Fellas, how's it doing today?
It's going pretty good. Baseball playoffs in the middle of it. We kind of got the fall weather finally starting to kick in a little bit, which I enjoy very much. And, another week. Get these back 2 days off of the week here due to fall break, and couldn't ask for anything better.
Besides waking up basically 15 minutes ago, been pretty good. Obviously, playoff baseball's here and ready for some college football and NFL football.
Yep, it is going to be a fun week, so let's just get right into it with the, obviously, biggest story, I would say. Anytime you got playoffs, it's going to take priority over everything else. Playoff baseball is here. We've already had some craziness happening. We have two Dodgers-Padres games that both go 5-3, one going each way. Phillies getting an upset in game 1, 7-6 over the Braves. Braves countering yesterday with a 3-0 win. And then Houston just tearing the hearts out of the Mariners with an 8-7 walk-off. And New York just kind of taking care of business against Cleveland 4-1. That's how everything has gone so far. Obviously today, some game twos, and you got to love playoff baseball. What other sport has a 2:30 playoff game on a Thursday?
Yeah, that's a whole nother argument. I mean, it's another mistake by Rob Manfred.
Yes.
But we can save that argument for another time.
Yeah, we're not here to debate time scheduling yet.
Yeah, we'll see when the championship series times come out.
Before the World Series at 6 a.m. Let's go, everybody.
Not gonna lie, it's actually odd seeing the American League on a TBS instead of like on FS1, because usually American League is usually on FS1 and then they flip it for the other.
Yeah, they usually do the flip-flop thing there. So this year it's a TBS year to have the AL. But we'll get into the big game, obviously. Well, one of two big games today, all two of them. Seattle and Houston, 2:30, TBS, I should say, Turner Broadcasting Network. Let's go with that. That's a lot nicer to say, but longer to say. Luis Castillo going to be on the mound for the Mariners. It's Framber Valdez for the Astros. Should be a good one here. If you're the Mariners, you got punched in the mouth 8-7. You had your heart ripped out. How do you respond in this one?
You got your your ace on the mound. You locked him up to a long-term contract towards the end of the season. This is why you traded for him at the deadline. He's one of the more underrated arms in baseball. I think a lot of that was because he was with Cincinnati, so now he has a chance to, again, make a name for himself. He went out and dominated in the wild card series, and I expect nothing different here in this game. You have the Mariners and Astros, obviously, both in the AL West, very familiar territory there. After playing 19 games in the regular season, then you get the first game under your belt. So I think the recipe to win this game is you put the back to the ace here and have Luis Castillo go out there and dominate and find a way to get a win. Because Valdez on the Astros side isn't a bad pitcher, so he's going to go out and do his thing as well. Very good ground ball pitcher, lefty. So we'll see if Seattle's bats are able to come back. But if you have Luis Castillo, I don't think you're going to blow that lead like you did in Game 1. So you're going to have to trust him to get the job done.
Pretty much. Obviously, pitching, big thing. So it's like, obviously, Seattle's bats can come through, but you got to hope they do. And obviously, if bats don't come through, Houston will probably take this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one for sure. Always the make or break game here, that game too. If you get down 2-0, you're pretty much done for. Can you come back? Obviously, yes. We've seen crazier things happen, but always a pivotal game. So Houston, as you can see here, 1.5-run favorite. Can the Astros hold on and get that Game 2 win? Prediction time, I guess, already today. Going to be a lot of predictions today. We've got a lot of games to cover.
I'm going with Seattle. I think Luis Castillo goes out, does his thing. I think he's going to go at least 7 innings, get the job done. And I think the left-hander favors the Mariners a little bit. A lot of their power hitters are right-handed, so I think they're able to still run a couple runs that way. I'm going to take Seattle winning a 5-2 game.
I'm pretty much in agreement. I think Seattle ties the series up after pretty much not knocking out Valdez probably about 4 innings in.
I'll go with Seattle as well. Everyone loves an underdog, so sorry, Seattle, we all picked you to win, so we know how this usually works, unfortunately. But the next one to get to here, the Guardians and the Yankees, going to be an interesting one as well. Shane Bieber on the mound for the Guardians, Nestor Cortez for the Yankees. Yankees also a 1.5-run favorite in this one. How can the Yankees keep momentum up? You got the 4-1 win. You kind of cruised in that one outside of, Donaldson hitting the greatest not-home run single of all time, then getting thrown out. That was really the only blemish the Yankees had on the day.
Yeah, the Yankees went out. They had Garrett Cole on the mound. He did his thing, and now it's the Guardians' turn to do their thing. I mean, that's the advantage for these division winners is the wild card winners weren't able to throw their aces in Game 1 because they had to get past the wild cards. So now you have your aces going in Game 2, not going against their aces. So that's the Guardians. Again, same thing as the Mariners. You got your ace in Shane Bieber, who's one of the better pitchers in the game. If it wasn't for Justin Verlander this year, he'd probably be one of the front runners for Cy Young. And he's going to have to go out and do his thing. I mean, the Yankees, to keep their momentum, they're going to have the crowd behind them. You won that game 4-1 with Aaron Judge, I think, striking out 3 or 4 times. So you figure he's not going to do that again. So that's going to be your momentum there is get his bat back where it needs to be. But much like the Mariners, I'm going to go Guardians in this one. I think Shane Bieber goes out there, gets the job done. I'm not the biggest Nestor Cortez fan. I think he might struggle a little bit here in a playoff game. So we'll see if he's able to get the job done. But again, left-hander to me favors the Guardians. I mean, Jose Ramirez being a switch hitter is going to have big power from that right-handed side. So I like the Guardians to steal this and all the games going back. Game 3, 1-1.
Yeah, I'm going to finally be the first one to go against it. I think the Yankees go up 2-0. I think as much as Shane Bieber will probably keep the Yankees in check, I don't trust Cleveland as much, especially some of their history against the Yankees. When they should probably win games, they don't. So I'm going to have Yankees take it 2-0.
Yeah, to me, this feels like one of those Judge bounces back type of games. Yankees have all the momentum on their side. I think Bieber will pitch a good game, but I think it's not going to be enough. Yankees find a way to go up 2-0. But hey, if we get all 4 1-1s, I'll
take it.
I'll take it. Next one here, the Braves have to make the trip back to Philadelphia. Going to be a wild Game 3 there for sure. Aaron Nola on the mound versus everyone's favorite, undecided. Don't know what the Braves are going to do yet, but what we do know is it's going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, they're going to go with either Charlie Morton or Strider. Strider just signed that big deal. I think they're going to go Charlie Morton in a 1-1 series, save Strider for a potential Game 4. If I think that's what Atlanta's going to do, go with the veteran Morton in this game. But, hey, I mean, as a road team, you go out there, get split 1-1. Now you get home field. Philly's got to take the next 2. You obviously want to try to avoid a Game 5, decisive Game 5 out there in Atlanta. So, I mean, that's got to be Philly. I mean, it's going to come down to the top of the order for the Phillies. Kyle Schwarber and Rhys Hoskins combined 4 for 49 in the postseason so far, and they both went over in yesterday's loss. So that's going to be the Phillies. I mean, Harper's going to do his thing. The middle of the order is going to do their thing. It's going to come down to the top because the Phillies pitching has been phenomenal this postseason. As far as the Braves go, I mean, it starts for them. They rally behind Acuna. I mean, you saw it yesterday. After he got hit by a pitch, it sparked their run. So that's where the Braves are going to live and die with Ronald Acuna.
Pretty much right there. Obviously, if Phillies had a great Game 1 and obviously they still played relatively well in Game 2, just obviously not the result they wanted. Braves obviously did a great job bouncing back. And then pretty much, obviously, like you said, it runs through Acuna. But I think Phillies will rebound from Game 2 and take Game 3.
I think the Phillies find a way. They're going to ride Nola's arm as long as they can. Maybe he pitches another shutout. I don't know. Maybe he keeps things going.
Yeah.
I think Phillies find a way to get a win here, and they get up 2-1 trying to close it out at home. And the next one, maybe someone will win with a score other than 5-3, maybe not. It's Dodgers-Padres Game 3. This is what San Diego has wanted. A chance to beat the Dodgers at home in the playoffs. Everything is lined up for them to do exactly what they've been trying to prove, but they're still an underdog at home. I mean, it's the Dodgers. What can I say other than, well, it's the Dodgers?
But at least good thing for them, they have Blake Snell on the mound. Obviously one of the best left-handed pitchers in the game. Obviously, he hasn't had hasn't overall had some of his best season this year, but he's still one of your top guys. And I see great lineup for San Diego, but obviously you have to go up against a great lineup in the Dodgers.
You have to go up against the lineup.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think for this one, obviously both teams have played really good against each other. I mean, obviously each had a 5-3 win, so we'll see where it goes from there. But I'm going to take as much as I would want the San Diego Padres to win this one, I'm going to pick the Dodgers. They're just too overwhelming.
This is a rematch. I've been waiting for it, at least. You had Blake Snell with the Rays dominate the Dodgers back in the World Series. Got pulled after 5 innings. Nobody still knows why to this day. And he got pulled. So now this is a chance. He's going to go back against the Dodgers. We'll see what he's able to do in this game. Can he go more than those 5 innings? But here, I think Dodgers honestly touch him up a little bit. He's not the same guy as he was with the Rays. He's struggled a little bit. The lefty's going to be tough with Mookie Betts. And then bringing in Freddie Freeman this offseason. Freeman's been hitting well. I think Dodgers take this one and they knock out Snell pretty quick.
No, I think so, too. I think the Dodgers get exactly what they want. Another chance to beat up on the Padres, a chance to right the wrongs of Game 2. They're going to find a way to get it done. That's just what the Dodgers do with these teams. But that brings us into, the end of the MLB and into the NFL. We have the sequel no one asked for today. I hope you like bad football, everybody, because this first one is a great one. Thursday night, Commanders-Bears. The game everyone asked for. We all wanted to see this after the 12-9 amazing game we had last week on Thursday night. The great QB battle of Carson Wentz versus Justin Fields. Going to be fun. It's fun because Vegas doesn't even know who's going to win. They have this one as a dead even pick 'em. So I guess it's our job to pick fourth.
That's why we're here. Tell you who's going to win.
Imagine being Amazon paying $1 billion just to get bad football after week 2.
Well, to be fair, that happens a lot.
I'm just having some fun. But, yeah, I'm not really sure how to feel about this. Obviously, Commanders are playing not so great football a lot of time, and then there's games that they either let it get away, which is very rare, or they're just playing bad, which is a lot. And then Chicago, I really do not know how to feel about that team because it's like they'll win games that you're like, how did they win that? And then all of a sudden, and then they lose games like, okay, I figured as much. But obviously, Chicago's only won their games at home. They haven't won a road game. So this favors Chicago quite a bit. And obviously, a bunch of injuries to the Commanders and then some injuries to the pretty much 2 injuries to Chicago. But I really do not know how to feel about this one. I mean, both teams are not very good at all, but just to throw a pick out there, I'll pick the Bears since they're undefeated at home.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know how to feel.
I'm going to go a different direction. I think Washington wins this one. I think they're going to win by double digits. I think there's a lot of stuff being talked about with them. Obviously, at Ron Rivera's comments, I think that's going to wake a lot of those guys up. I think this is a bounce-back game here for Washington. They should have won last week. I got away from them on the goal line. They had a chance to steal a game that way. I think overall this team's better. I think Wentz is better than Fields. I think Gibson's better than Herbert. I think McLaren's better than Mooney. I think defenses can go toe-to-toe. So I think in the end, I think they're looking at – and you look at it the way they do it, a lot of times they give the home team about 3 points. So you're really looking at on a neutral field, they view Washington here as the favorite. So I like Washington here. I think they get the job done, and they're going to start quick tonight, kind of feeding off some of those Rivera comments. And they're going to prove that it all wasn't a distraction because they keep being asked about it. I think they're going to be excited to just get out and play football. And I think Washington wins this one 24-14.
Yeah, I think the Commanders find a way to get it done with how close they were to beating the Titans. I mean, they're 1 or 2 bad throws away from winning that game, which, Grant, how many times have we said that with the Commanders the past year? They're just 1 drive away from being somewhat okay.
I mean,
not even the Commanders. Wentz.
Yeah, just Wentz.
It's like I was going to say it's Carson Wentz.
Yeah, it's Carson Wentz, but at the other time, it's Justin Fields. I mean, that's the only saving grace here. I think the Commanders will do just enough to get the win here. I wouldn't say double digits. Something tells me the Bears will find a way to keep this close at home, but I think the Commanders get the job done in an ugly game that everyone wishes they wouldn't have watched by the end of the day. So we might get like a 9-3 type of game that just hurts everyone's soul.
Yo, that Twitch chat's going to be lit.
Listen, we're going to have a field day watching that. And then the next one here, get your Sunday going right with the Niners and Falcons. The game everyone wants to see here. Marcus Mariota and Jimmy Garoppolo going at it, leading both offenses. Niners are a 5.5-point favorite here. Interesting storyline that may become important just for the spread here. Robert Gold may not play in this game. He got injured against Carolina. That may not be important to the game itself, but that might be important to some betting here when it comes to that 5.5 line.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons in this game. I think they're at home. They've looked a lot better, I think, than people thought they would to start the season. I'm not high on the 49ers. You guys know that by now. And I think that Atlanta gets the job done at home here. I like them definitely to cover the 5.5, but I think they steal the win as well. I don't know if you can kind of win at home a steal, but
Yeah.
If Vegas says it, then it's true.
But,
I am surprised it's a plus 196. That's a lot in favor of San Francisco.
But yeah, pretty much for this one, it's like Niners are just like they've had some games where they've offensively have played pretty well, but they're not consistent with the play. And Falcons overall have actually played pretty good football, even though obviously didn't have the best start after week 1, but obviously they've played overall better as a team. I'm going to go with you, Andrew. I'm going to pick the Falcons to take it.
Well, I'll be the one going against here. I think the Niners find a way. This is just one of those games Atlanta's going to see slip through their hands. They have an opportunity. They'll be in it, but there'll be some play, maybe a busted route on a 3rd and long. Maybe something goes wrong. Maybe a blocked punt. I don't know. Something is going to go San Francisco's way, and they're going to ride the momentum wave into the 4th and win the game. That's just my gut feeling from it. I don't know if the Niners will cover. This might be a 24-20 type of game, but I think the Niners find a way to get it done at Atlanta. The next one here, a game I did not think we would be talking about the quarterback battle of Jacoby Brissett versus Bailey Zappi when we got started, but that's exactly what the Patriots and Browns is heading towards. Browns are a 3-point favorite in this one, however.
Yeah, and this is a weird game. I mean, both teams need to win this game. I mean, neither want to go 2-4. I gotta lean towards. I don't know. I'm gonna go lean towards the Patriots. I think they steal this game on the road. I think Zappi looked very good last week in that win. What was it, 29-0? I think it was over the Lions. And listen, Bill Belichick still Bill Belichick. I will take him over a lot of coaches. And he's going to get the job done here. He's going to have the team ready to play. I can't trust Cleveland, especially with Jacoby Brissett. It's going to come down to Cleveland's running game as usual, but give me the New England on the road.
Yeah, with as good as the run game is for Cleveland, that can only get you so far, especially with the quarterback play not being the best for Cleveland. Obviously, Patriots, obviously not the best start they would like, especially with Mac Jones not playing as well start the season. But Cleveland has had games where they have had some games where they probably should have won and just did not do it, or they haven't played really well at all. Obviously, I know they won a couple games, but still, those 3 losses they had weren't really good on their resume. But I'll probably take Patriots because I trust them, mainly because of Belichick. So I'll take Patriots.
Listen, I'm a firm believer in Bailey Zappi just because, A, it's a fun last name, B, throwing the ball a lot. 2 things I love to see. Like you said, Connor, Nick Chubb can only do so much. There's only so much that man can do to carry the Browns right now.
It's like,
with everything else happening, it is.
It's like, man's a good running back, but he only can take you so far.
Yeah, he can only, get about 20 carries a day. They're not going to give him 50 carries to try to win this game. That would not be a good idea.
Never know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Stefanski's that type of guy, but I think Patriots will find a way. They'll get a big play late. Brissett will throw a pick in the 4th quarter because that is just the trend that just happens now. I think Patriots find a way to get the win on the road. And the next one here, tell me if you've heard this one before. The Green Bay Packers and the New York Jets have the same record when playing each other. They're both 3-2. This is not a situation people thought we would be having, but hey, Packers did just lose to one New York team. Will they lose to the other? Vegas says no. They have the Packers as 7.5-point favorites. But you never really know with these two teams. We don't know how good the Jets are. They kind of fluctuate depending on the week. But, I mean, hey, if Zach Wilson's playing well, maybe the Jets can pull something out.
That's going to come down to pretty much, like you said, offense is going to have to be ready to go for the Jets. And this one's in Lambeau, not in London, so there might be a little different here. But I still couldn't believe the Packers lost to the Giants last week. But it is
Giants might legitimately be good. We have to have that conversation at some point.
So you're telling me the Giants fans are actually going to be happy with Daniel Jones?
Maybe for a little bit.
But anyways, back to the Jets.
Barkley, not
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah, I know, but still.
Hey, Saquon Barkley's the best quarterback on that team. Don't at me.
And then but I think Green Bay will bounce back. Jets will probably give a good first half effort, and then Green Bay will take over from there. Aaron Rodgers will just do what he usually does.
That is an interesting game. Packers got a lot to respond to after blowing that game last week. I mean, they were winning the majority of that game before letting it get out of their hand. I think they're up 10 or 13 at halftime, if I remember correctly. I mean, and again, they just let it slip away. So they got a lot to bounce back here. Luckily, they are going home, so they'll have the crowd behind them, obviously, in this one. But listen, I think the Jets, kind of like the Giants, are better than we thought. I think the defense for the Jets has kept them in a lot of games. And listen, that's the recipe for this game. If they can steal a defensive touchdown or special teams, they might find a way to win this game, to be honest, because, I mean, the Packers' offense does not look good. Like, the games they've won even have been more, I feel like, their defense and Rodgers and the offense there. So, I mean, again, Randall Cobb, they're back there now as their leading receiver. Obviously, that's not a good sign there. You're hoping to get some of those rookies more involved. So, if the Jets' defense shows up here, they might find a way to steal the game. Am I going to pick them? No. I will take the Packers to win the game overall, but I'll take the Jets against the spread.
That's about where I'm at. I think the Jets they'll show up, they'll come ready to play. Their defense will make a few big plays. Packers offense has not been impressive at all this year, but I think Aaron Rodgers will make a play or two late in the game that they have to. Packers will get a close win, and it might give someone a heart attack. I don't know. That very well could happen. And then speaking of games I did not expect to be see, the Colts have a chance to make history, folks. If they tie, they would go 2-2-2. And I don't know if that has ever happened in the NFL before. And even if it has, it'd still be funny to talk about. Will they tie, though? There's a 0.5% chance, everybody. Just got to root for that tie in this one with the Jags and the Colts. Should be a fun one. We know what happens here. Jacksonville seems to play well against Indianapolis. That's just how it works. Vegas still believes in the Colts, though. I mean, Indy's been playing better. They beat Denver. They had a competitive game with Tennessee. They beat Kansas City. Jags have done the same thing. I mean, they blew out the Chargers. They played competitive with the Eagles, and then they suffered a pretty ugly loss to the Texans. So, battle of kind of who's more consistent for the game, it seems like.
Yeah, I like Jacksonville here. I think they're coming off a bad loss. I've seen that before. Doug Peterson, he knows how to get the team to respond. I don't like the Colts' offense. I know Jacksonville's isn't great, but, I mean, they're only averaging 13 points a game, and you're 5 games into the season. And Matt Ryan was supposed to be the savior here, come in and fix that offense and get you back to where you wanted to be and everything. And the Colts haven't looked good. And, I mean, their defenses look good at times, but Jacksonville's defenses look just as good. So I'm going to say I lean towards Jacksonville's offense here because I think the defenses are that close we can almost wash them out. But give me Trevor Lawrence here.
Yeah, just the in regards to play, Matt Ryan has just not played well at all. He's like the only good game he's had was pretty much against the Chiefs. Otherwise, it's like he hasn't played up to the expectations he was brought in for. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, I know they're 2-3, but they are still playing better football than they did last year, and I think they've been more competitive. Obviously, they still had the ugly loss against the Texans, but I think I would trust Jacksonville more than the Colts, especially after watching that fiasco of a game last Thursday with the Colts.
If you had told me before the season started that I would trust Trevor Lawrence more than Matt Ryan, I don't think I would have believed myself. But that's where we are at this point. I trust this Jacksonville team a lot more than I do Indianapolis. Even though the Colts are at home, this is not a matchup that favors them. There's not a lot of favorable matchups for the Colts anyway, but this one does not favor him. I think Christian Kirk has a big day. He goes off. Jags are going to have a fun time getting a sweep over the Colts. And I just don't believe that's a sentence I have to say this early in the season, but this is where we are.
Yeah, I can't believe they're playing twice already in the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, that's
just weird to me.
That is weird, but hey, maybe you want it that way.
Yeah, maybe the Colts, yeah.
Yeah,
we don't have to worry about
get the 2 losses out of the way, focus on the rest of the season. What happens, happens. And the next one here, the Vikings and the Dolphins. The quarterback situation for the Dolphins continues to deteriorate. No Tua still expected, so this is going to turn to a battle here where I don't know what the Dolphins are going to do. Are they going to roll Teddy Bridgewater out? I don't think so. I don't know. Is this another Skylar Thompson game? Who knows? It's a real quarterback conundrum we have going on for the Dolphins. Minnesota, they really have one of the simple game plans here. They just got to let the Dolphins beat themselves at this point. And the Vikings are a 3.5-point favorite.
Yeah, real quick before I give my pick on this game, we do have some breaking news.
Okay.
The Yankees and Guardians game is postponed due to weather, so they will make that game up tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Well, there you go.
So there will only be one game.
There'll only be one
Hey,
game. Can they shift the Astros game to 6:30 now?
I wonder if they're flex that game. Probably not, just with the fans and tickets, I guess.
I mean, that works better for me with high school football on today. I mean, get your one baseball game out of the way.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But no, I'll take in this game. I like Minnesota. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater isn't a bad backup here, but overall, I've always said it. I think Kirk Cousins is underrated. I value him a lot more than I think other people do, and Dalvin Cook's still obviously one of the better backs. I don't know. I think Miami's luck is going to start to run out just without Tua. I mean, he was playing pretty well. And you saw him struggle last week a little bit. See if Tyreek Hill can make up for some of that, but give me Minnesota on the road.
Yeah, especially with the quarterback situation Miami's having to deal with. Obviously, no Tua. Then who knows about if Bridgewater's playing. And we haven't really seen how Skylar Thompson will do in an actual NFL game against legit starters. So, you can't really trust Miami right now. So I take the Vikings because they've been consistently playing better. I mean, you're 4-1, so you're doing something right.
Yeah, I think Minnesota finds a way to get this one taken care of. Like I said, the Vikings just kind of have to just not make mistakes. Dolphins are going to do something in this game. Kirk Cousins is going to go out, do his thing. You don't really need to do too much here if you're Minnesota. Don't try to overthink this.
You would have told me in the first 6 weeks the Vikings would be the best team in the NFC North. I would laugh at you.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings, you win this game, you're 5-1. You have a legitimate shot of being the best team in the NFC by the end of the day.
But does it really? I don't know. It doesn't surprise me. I like the Vikings. Like their defense is always one of the better ones. Again, I like Kirk Cousins. They have arguably one of the best running backs in the game, and they have arguably one of the best wide receivers in the game. So, I mean, to me, it's really not surprising to see this Vikings team being so successful.
It's not surprising, but it's just one of those things that, when you believe in history and history repeats itself, Minnesota's a team that always seems to fall on their sword at some point at the end of the season. They always have the big choke or something like that, and then being put in division with the Packers doesn't help either. But we finally see the Packers having, somewhat of a down start. I don't know if 3-2 is really that bad of a start, but it's a combination of all that, I would say.
Yeah, and the Vikings defense in the past few seasons has been inconsistent. They've had games where they've given up a lot of points and then a lot of yards.
Well, I mean, that's every team.
But what I'm saying is, even though they're still one of the better defensive teams, they haven't been very great as they should have been. Obviously, they're playing much better now, and Cousins is not messing up as much, and you're not having to blame him for everything now. And he's obviously just played overall better. That's just where I'm looking at it, is that the team is actually playing up to their potential, even though Kurt's needs to separate his touchdowns from his interceptions.
Just a little bit. 7-5, not the best ratio in the world, but it's better than having an even one. You never want to have that, or into the negatives. That would also be terrible. But the next one here, Bengals and the Saints, a game that is indeed happening. Bengals are a 1.5-point favorite here. I mean, the Saints had their darn fun time with Taysom Hill and Andy Dalton going out beating the Seahawks. That was a fun shootout to watch. I don't know with this one. This really, to me, is one of those weird games. I believe the Bengals are the better team, but are they going to play like they're the better team?
It's pretty much what it comes down to. Bengals haven't, ever since the start of the season, haven't played really up to their potential, and it seems like a lot of things they tried to fix on that offense didn't really fix. But when they do protect them, Burrow goes off. All you have to do is protect Burrow, and you could easily win this game. But if you don't protect him, you're going to be in for a long day. And New Orleans obviously having their little quarterback issue, but it seems like they've been doing pretty good with Dalton and Taysom Hill, whatever that goes. But I think I still trust the Bengals more than the Saints, so I'm going to take the Bengals.
I like the Saints in this game. I've been picking a lot of road teams, but I'm going to go elsewhere here. I'm going to go with the home team this time. I think the Saints offense has been playing well, even without Jameis Winston. I mean, he turns the ball over a lot, so I think the Saints are doing a better job holding on to the ball, not giving away as many possessions. I think that's going to carry into this game. I mean, they got a very good running back. You have now the Taysom Hill. You have him being the running back threat, the tight end threat, the quarter, and I think that just plays a lot of tricks to the defense, and it keeps a lot of things open. And you've seen it the last few weeks, because they've still been able to put up points these last few weeks. And I think they're going to be able to do it again against Cincinnati. I'll take Saints in like a 27-21 game.
I think the Bengals find a way to get it done here. I think it'll be a shootout type of game, higher scoring, maybe a 31-28 type game. But I think the Bengals find a way to get it done. But I do agree, Andrew. I think having Taysom Hill out there, what he's able to bring to the table, that'll obviously cause problems. It always seems to. I mean, you saw what he did last week where he breaks off the 65-yard run against Seattle. Granted, I mean, the Seahawks defense is probably worse than the Bengals defense, but still, I think having Andy Dalton out there, that'll mean a lot to him. That'll be a big game for him going up against one of his former teams. So it should be a fun one. I think the Bengals just find a way to get it done. Their offense will come to life like you expect them to. Their defense, not so much. The next one here, the Ravens and the Giants. We have once again, a legitimate shot. If the Giants were to win this game, which, keep in mind, they're not favored to. They're a 6-point home underdog. They would be 5-1, and that's a kind of scary stat. And for a little bit, I don't think anyone expected the Giants to be this good, this quick, but here they are. If Saquon Barkley can keep going, Daniel Jones making the simple plays, don't overthink it. I mean, you don't have that high of a TD or interception count. You got that nice 3-2 solid there. But this is a Giants team that we know what they're going to do. We know Saquon Barkley's the guy on the team. If you're the Ravens, you're just coming off a big win over the Bengals. Justin Tucker does his thing. What a surprise there. Should be a good one. Ravens, like I said, 6-point favorites going on the road into the Meadowlands.
It's a big game for the Giants. I mean, obviously it's a big game for both teams, but you look at, and we'll get in this game later, but you look at if you win this game, you're either guaranteed second place after 6 weeks or a tie for first, depending on what happens in the Eagles-Cowboys game. So, I mean, if they find a way to steal this game at home, I mean, especially being 6-point underdogs, I mean, that's going to go a long way for them late in the season. They'll give them more confidence than they already have, and it's going to come down to the Giants' defense. You know what you're going to get out of Barkley. You know Jones is going to be a good game manager, take care of the ball. Can your defense contain Lamar Jackson? Can they contain Mark Andrews? That's what it's going to come down to. And you've seen this defense for the Giants play very well. They struggled in the first half against Green Bay, but they bounced back in the second and won that game. You saw it in the opening weeks against the Panthers. They contained Christian McCaffrey and company. And, I mean, I hate to say it as an Eagles fan, but I think they do it again this weekend. I think they're going to steal this game from Baltimore. I think that defense is going to do enough. They're going to take care of the ball, and I think they win 17-13.
Yeah, this game's gonna end up being a more defensive stand in regards to how the Giants will play. I mean, I think Saquon and Jones will do what they've been doing throughout the first 5 weeks, and Baltimore has had a bit inconsistent play where it's like they'll jump out on you and then proceed to blow it, but I don't think that necessarily happens. I think like you said, Giants are gonna pretty much hold them. Baltimore back offensively by quite a bit, and then Giants just do enough to win the game.
Yeah, I think that's what will happen. The Giants are going to make this a defensive game. That's where they want to be. They'll find a way to slow this thing down, which favors them. I think the Giants pull it off. We have to talk about a 5-1 Giants team, which, I mean, goodness, can you imagine the chaos in the AFC North if you've got a 3-3 Ravens, like a 2-4 Browns? Who knows what the Steelers are doing at this point? And the Bengals are 3-3 or 2-4. Just, my goodness, that division may not be looking too hot.
And again, not just a 5-1, potentially a first place 5-1.
Yeah,
team.
a first place 5-1. You know what we all thought would happen this season. But the next one here, speaking of the Steelers, they're 1-4.
Yeah, we can skip that.
Yeah, they're taking on Tampa Bay. Buccaneers are 3-2. They're 8-point favorites. Kenny Pickett, he exists. That's all I got to say right now. Still trying to prove he can do something after getting drubbed by the Bills last week, 38-3. Can the Steelers cover? Because I don't think any of us are going to pick the Steelers to win this game. Can they at least cover that 8 points at home?
I mean, I guess technically they can, but no.
Okay, Andrew.
No, they will not cover this. I mean, Buccaneers, I know they started a little slow, but they've seemed to find a little bit of rhythm here. Leonard Fournette's playing phenomenal. Evans, I mean, Tom Brady, he's looking like himself, obviously. So I think Buccaneers win this game fairly easily.
Yeah, I think Buccaneers, even though Kenny overall statistically had a good showing, he just had no touchdowns to show for it. But Tampa, I think, pretty much just take care of the business. Their Steelers are just not that much of a complete team. They're struggling mightily. I mean, you're 1-4 for a reason, and I think Buccaneers go to be 4-2.
Yeah, I think the Buccaneers take care of business here by double digits. It might get ugly. Like, it legitimately could get ugly there again.
So here's the question: when you pull Pickett because of how bad of a blood is, do you go back to Trubisky or do you go to Rudolph?
I don't know. I would think logical chain of progression says you go to Rudolph and give him a shot just to see what happens. But then, if he doesn't play well, what do you do then? Yeah. Like, you're stuck with 3 quarterbacks that you don't like. So I would have no idea what you do after that.
Because I think this game gets that bad. I think you're gonna have quarterback change both ways just because of how bad. Like I think Buccaneers just take it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they get to change quarterbacks because of how good they're playing.
I think one thing I brought up was that in regards to like completion to attempts, Kenny actually had a good showing for the most part. They had no touchdowns to show for it. I mean, he didn't. They failed to do whatever. I mean, he had like about almost 300 yards passing, so he could throw the ball. The problem is he just nothing to show for it, and that's the big problem for the Steelers. That offense is just not showing anything for it. I mean, Najee Harris only has 1 touchdown on the season. I mean, Trubisky hasn't really, obviously, being Trubisky, and then Kenny only had 1 starting game to show for it, so we'll just see how that goes. I doubt they'll probably go to Rudolph unless maybe a couple games down the road, but I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be tough to see how this situation develops for the Steelers.
I still think you don't bring Rudolph in unless your team is just absolutely just playing that bad.
I mean, it could happen, though. This would be the one team. They're talented enough.
Could be, but I don't think Rudolph will come in unless just a couple games and they're just like, Pickett's not doing anything, Trubisky's not doing anything. Let's just throw Rudolph in there.
Well, I'm not talking about it because of how bad Pickett's doing. I'm just talking about because when the game gets out of hand, you don't want
trying
to
just
hurt.
Keep your quarterback from getting
I'm just kind of looking at like, it's like both quarterbacks haven't really done anything. I understand Kenny's only had 1 game. That's why I'm saying give him a couple games, see how he goes. I think they'll probably stick with him for most of the season. I'm just saying, like, if it comes down to it, Rudolph will have to play. If that basically would be like a really last resort, especially with how they've been handling the whole quarterback situation.
Yeah.
But I do agree that he might come in just to be
a warm body, basically.
Garbage time.
Yeah, we'll have to see or not see, because if it's that much of a blowout, I don't know if anyone wants to stick around.
They're gonna
red zone.
Yeah, red zone. Yeah, red zone will let us know what happens there. And the next one, we have our first coach firing of the season. The Carolina Panthers have fired Matt Rule. Baker Mayfield, he's out at least 2 weeks. No Darnold, so guys, it's PJ Walker time again. So we're going to see what Carolina does. They go to the Rams. As you can see, Rams are double-digit favorites in this one, as you would think. Going to be an interesting few weeks for the Panthers here, and a true test to see how bad of a team they can be.
Yeah, I think Carolina goes 1-5. Even though it's like Los Angeles hasn't overall been breaking the brakes off anyone by any stretch of the imagination, but they're a much more put-together team, and I think they'll handle Carolina just fine.
It's gonna be an interesting game. I mean, I'm gonna say right now, I'll pick the Rams. I'm gonna take Panthers against the spread. Rams offense does not look good at all, and I mean, Panthers defense, while yeah, it's not top tier. I mean, it's not like it's a horrible defense. They've kept them in games throughout the season, and the offense hasn't been able to get the job done. So until the Rams proves to me that they can go out there and put up 27 points, 30 points. I'm gonna stick here with I think Panthers cover 10 points, a double-digit game here. Rams just haven't looked like themselves, and until they do, it's tough to kind of back them up a little bit. So I'll take the Rams here in like a 24-20 game.
Yeah. I think Carolina will put up a good fight, just that kind of confidence you get. Okay, we're going to do things right this time. We don't have Matt Rule here. You'll come out and see that on the first drive. They'll do some things they haven't done all year. Everyone will go, oh, wow, this Carolina team looks different. Then you'll see reality start to set back in. The Rams will slowly, not really dominate the game, but they'll do enough to get the job done. And then if you want a shootout, this might be the game to go to. The Cardinals taking on the Seahawks. That over-under set at 50.5 right now.
6-6 shootout.
Yeah, Cardinals, the legendary 6-6 shootout. 3-point favorites are the Cardinals. This one, I mean, as a fan of offense, I will probably watch more of this game than I need to. But I don't know. Geno Smith, he's been pretty good. Don't know what that says about, maybe the Seahawks made the right decision here. They got Geno. You got Kyler Murray. Cardinals need to pick it up a little bit. They're 2-3. They're 2-0 on the road. They have not won a home game yet. They seem to do better away from home. Can they keep that trend up going into Seahawk country?
Yeah, this is a weird game because much like the Rams, it's tough to back the Cardinals. You expect them to be better. They just haven't shown it this year. They don't get off to a good start. I think last week, in week 4, that was the first time they put up first half points or something like that, or first touchdown maybe. And it was crazy number that way. They've still have yet to score in the first quarter. And that's what's going to come down to Arizona is you need to start scoring early. You can't keep relying on these second half comebacks and everything. And I think their biggest issue, and you saw it last year when they started going downhill, is they missed DeAndre Hopkins. They were expecting to pair Hopkins with Brown. They haven't been able to do that yet. And we'll see when he comes back how much he's really able to turn this team. But I don't know. This is an interesting game. Like you said, it'll probably be a shootout here, but it's a tough one to pick. I'm going to lean Arizona because in the end I will trust Murray more than Smith. But, no, I would not be surprised to see either team win here, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't really be surprised if whoever wins. But they obviously, when it comes to talent, Arizona should be the better team offensively and defensively. But they haven't really – that defense hasn't really – shown as much, but also that doesn't help whenever the offense just doesn't score early. So you're kind of that's putting too much pressure on the defense to do something when the offense can't really score. But I think Arizona changes that for this game. I think they do get a score early, not necessarily a lot of points, but like at least 7 or 10 to at least start the game. And then Seattle tries to make a good effort. It's going to be a bit back and forth. I think Murray comes through and gets it for the Cardinals.
See, I think Arizona struggles early here. Seattle jumps out to a lead. We go back and forth the second and third quarter, and the Cardinals finally have a shot to make a comeback, but Seattle makes a big play at the end. I think the Seahawks win this game. This is one of those that stands out to me as one of those. I don't know about that. Cardinals have not looked good to me. They every time they get into a game with a good team, they seem to be right into it. They always have that one moment where they fall apart. They always have something that goes against them, some mistake that costs them, and I think it bites them again here at Seattle.
I
can see it.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game, though.
Yeah.
This could be one of those 35-31 types of games. It easily could.
Absolutely.
This probably be the game we probably don't get to see because
this would be the game I would love to see.
I'm saying we love to see, but it's like because I'll be at work when this game happens, so I won't be able. I doubt in regards to blackout or whatever they have, I won't be able to get it.
Put Red Zone on at McDonald's.
I wish.
Just demand it. But the next one here, the Bills taking on the Chiefs at Arrowhead, an afternoon game. Chiefs are a 2.5 home underdog. I believe they said is the first time in, 4 or 5 years that Patrick Mahomes is a home underdog or something like that.
Yeah.
And for, good reason. The Bills are 4-1.
And Bills are good.
Bills are a insanely talented team. You got Josh Allen. You got Stephon Diggs. You've got a whole lot of weapons to work with, even beyond those two.
And you have a man named Josh Allen.
Yeah, you got a guy named Josh Allen. He does a lot of things, and he does them all pretty well.
Yeah.
Bills 2.5-point favorite, like I mentioned. Over/under on this one also pretty high, 54.
Yeah.
They're expecting points, and I mean, these are two of the best offenses, two of the best teams overall in the NFL. You expect that with them.
Yeah, I think obviously for this one is like it's literally just it's Josh Allen and like this is like the 8th or 9th time. It feels like they've played like over 10 times, which they haven't. But it's like it feels like they've played each other so much.
Well, it's going to be a common matchup pretty much. Now you get it twice a year.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I'm really looking to see if they'll actually match up again for a second time when they go to when they enter the playoffs. But obviously we're still way far from that. But obviously this is going to be a battle of two offenses going at it. I think though obviously defensively, Bills are a better team than the Chiefs, but Chiefs have been doing a good job stopping that run. But obviously you're dealing with a threat like Josh Allen, so that opens a lot of things up in the passing and run game. So I think for this one, as much as it pains me, I think I'm going to pick the Bills because Bills are obviously they're coming off a major win against practically a blowout win against the Steelers, and Bills just have been playing some really good football. And I know Kansas City has gotten on the right track since the Indianapolis loss, but I think it'll be a close game. But I think Bills take it in Arrowhead.
Yeah, let's pull up these last few scores. I mean, just dating back to 2021, 38-24, 38-20, 42-36. So a lot of highest scoring games, obviously, with these two teams, and it's always been fun with these groups. And they go back and forth. They kind of rotate who wins. And I think on Sunday it's going to come down to two things. I mean, I think the quarterbacks, I mean, you can argue who's better. I think when they face head-to-head, it's pretty much a wash. They're both that good. I think it's going to come down to different groups. I mean, I think, obviously, Bills, with Tyreek Hill being gone, get the edge with Stephon Diggs, but the Chiefs bounce back with the tight end spot there with Kelsey, obviously. I think that Bills rely a little too much on Allen's run game, so Chiefs win the running game there as well. And you get a fun coaching matchup, too. A guy like Sean McDermott and Andy Reid, who know each other very well, both worked a long time McDermott worked a long time under Reid, so he knows him a little bit. But in the end, there's two things here that I lean Chiefs, and that is the coach. I think he's better than McDermott. I think he knows the system better. He knows how to win these type of games. And in these games, I take home crowd into a lot of it, and Chiefs are home. So I'm going to lean Chiefs here, which in the end is going to be a huge win for either team, no matter who wins, because when it comes down to these two teams could be tied in the standings, and this game could decide the home field advantage tiebreaker come playoff time. So both teams want this one extra for that reason. So I'm going to take the Chiefs, though, at home.
So I'm the opposite. I think the Bills will find a way to get this job done. They want revenge from last year. This is the same situation that happened when the Browns played the Chiefs, where it's, this is pretty much your fifth quarter. Okay, game's starting over again. Here we go. It's part two, basically. And I think the Bills are going to find a way. They're going to come out extra motivated. Not to say the Chiefs won't, of course. But it's going to be a battle. This is going to be probably one of the games in the NFL this year. If it's not the game of the year, it'll be up there in the top 5. Back and forth the entire game. I just think the Bills find a way to get it done, and they don't go to overtime. They're gonna make sure it doesn't go to overtime. The Bills have been dominating people this year outside of, one bad game at Miami and one weird game against Baltimore. They've been crushing people. Kansas City, I can't say the same thing. They've, if the Raiders don't do one of the most idiotic 2-point conversion attempts I've ever seen, maybe that game goes to overtime. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But the Chiefs have been kind of more skating by. They're getting better. They're getting out of that. But I think when you run into the buzzsaw that is the Bills this year, it'll be fun. It'll be a battle. But I think Buffalo finds a way to get it done.
I'd say Bills might have had that weird game, but Baltimore is a good team.
Baltimore is a good team, but I don't know. Something about me tells me I don't know what Baltimore's going to do the rest of the season.
That's true.
They might be 3-3 by the end of this week.
But it's going to be a good game. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, it's going to be
as long as I can watch that game.
Well, it's a 325, so.
I mean, as long as nothing else interferes with that.
Yeah. incoming Cardinals getting on.
3.
Oh, man, they won't do that. But, man, that would be funny. But the other one here that everyone does get to see, you will see this game. It is Sunday night. It is the Eagles. It is the Cowboys. It is the NFC East. First test. 5-0 Eagles, 4-1 Cowboys. The legend of Cooper Rush, 4-0 as the starting quarterback of the Cowboys. The man wins despite not really doing anything. It's kind of one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Eagles are a 6-point favorite, and for good reason. Jalen Hurts has been clicking. This offense is doing whatever it wants, and not to mention the defense is doing their part too. So once again, no Dak, to the surprise of absolutely 0 people. Cooper Rush will get the start. But, man, you know how it's going to be in this game, especially you, Andrew, I'm sure from experience. This is going to be a rowdy crowd. Eagles are trying to get to 6-0. This is a huge game.
Yeah, no, like I said earlier, I mean, this game could decide a 3-way tie in first, depending on what the Giants do, or the Eagles can continue to hold on to that first place spot. Because if the Cowboys win this and the Giants win, you got 3 5-1 teams, which is kind of funny to say with how bad this division's been the last few years. But I'll tell you what, that Sunday could be a wild day because you potentially have a Game 5 with the Phillies and Braves, and then you have this game. So my health might be in jeopardy Sunday night.
Don't worry. I will provide mental health checkups and just text you and be like, hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously probably being a little biased, I guess, maybe here, but I don't know. With Cooper Rush, I get it, what he's done, but I have a hard time thinking he's going to go into Philly and steal this game. I think overall, like you said, Jalen Hurts has done whatever he's wanted to do this year. I mean, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith have been doing very well, and the Eagles' defense has showed up. The only thing that continues to concern me, and you saw it last week, the Eagles barely got by, is for some reason they just don't score in the second half. And eventually, when you play these good teams like the Cowboys, I mean, they're very well built, obviously, for them to go on this 4-game win streak without Dak, is you're going to need to start scoring in the second half. It almost cost you last week in Arizona, and this is another game where it could cost you. And you've survived in the past with it, but that's the biggest thing I want to see change with the Eagles here is the second half.
I think for this one, I think Philly does change that. Not saying they'll score a lot in the second half, but they at least score.
They will get some
They'll get some points. But I think Philly will jump out to a good start over Dallas. I think as much as we all love memeing with Cooper Rush and all that stuff and the fact that he's gone 4-0 after replacing Dak, I think that ends tonight. I think ends on Sunday. About to say tonight.
If it ends tonight, there's problems.
We got other problems.
Yeah, new quarterback alert.
Forfeit.
Yeah.
But Philly takes care. Will win this game. Probably say about a 27-20 game.
I think the Cowboys will find a way to cover here. I'm not going to say they win. This gets the feeling of Eagles get like 2 big touchdowns in the first 7 minutes. Everyone goes, oh my goodness. You know, is this for real? Is this happening? Are the Eagles going to blow the Cowboys out? What Philly fans have been waiting for all season, and then here come the Cowboys slowly riding back into the game. We get to like 14-13 in the fourth quarter. Everyone starts sweating bullets. The Eagles hold on and win like 17-13 or something like that. It's a tight defensive game. That's how both these teams kind of want to be this year. So I think it'll be a fun game. There'll be a lot of stress. Don't worry, Andrew. You'll be stressed out for sure. That's how we all know how this works.
Yeah. Andrew will age 5 years.
Yeah, he will age 5 years in the span of a 1 5-minute span, and it'll be worth it though because the Eagles will get the win and be 6-0, and we'll have to live in a world where the Eagles and Giants might determine the NFC East this year.
Yeah,
I think they play.
I
don't remember, but I think they play each other both late. I think both games are late in the season.
Yeah.
I think they end with the Giants, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so there'll be some big games for sure. But the final game to talk about, a game everyone wants to see, Monday night, Broncos-Chargers. Now, the Chargers are 4.5-point favorites in this one. There's a good reason. Russell Wilson is questionable. He just in general, whether it be his health or his play on the field, it has indeed been questionable. Justin Herbert, we know what he can do, but at the same time, the Chargers' defense has not been up to standard. Chargers nearly blew the game in Cleveland last week with a very questionable decision to go for it. somehow did not backfire. I don't know how.
It's the Browns.
Well, I
It's the
mean,
Browns.
even the Browns sometimes get out-Brownsed by other opponents. But this is going to be a battle. This might be the stoppable force meets the movable object type of game where just neither team looks that great, but someone's got to win this game, you would think.
I think this one will be Chargers. They're offensively, they're going to probably move on Broncos pretty good throughout. Not like they're going to steamroll them, but they're going to do a good job for the most part. Obviously, Broncos offense literally hit a new low last week, and I don't know if that way things are going, that probably won't be the case because you're playing against the Chargers, and it seems like they're always cursed to always not play great defense. Seems like so. I think Russell, if he does play, will probably play a little better, but not much to really win them the game. I think Chargers will take the game.
Yeah, I mean, Broncos are going to need their defense to keep them in it like usual. That's what it's going to come down to. I think Chargers' offense is going to be a little too much, though, in the end. I think you're starting to see that a little, not last week, but the week before that against the Raiders. You saw the defense kind of get worn down by the end. And I think you're going to something similar to that. Is I think the defense is going to keep them in throughout, and then Chargers kind of get a late score to kind of put it away. So I'm going to take Chargers 20. I'll go 28-17, but again, kind of late score, just putting it away.
Yeah, I think the Chargers will find a way to get this job done here. Broncos will have to rely on their defense. That'll work for about a half. Chargers will figure out a way to win this game.
Broncos country. Let's suck.
No, let's not play offense is more correct. Broncos offense. Let's get a safety.
So sucking.
Yes, they're going to be bad. Yeah. But we also have a week of college football to talk about. We had a game last night. Don't know if anyone saw it. Louisiana defeating Marshall 23-13. I saw a whole 3 minutes of the game. It was cool from what I gathered.
My attention was playoff baseball last night.
Yeah, well, I got to see it every once in a while. Just a reminder that it is indeed Fun Belt Wednesday. That is back. We got Baylor,
back.
West Virginia tonight. Should be an important one in the Big 12, but we're not here to talk about that because we have quite possibly one of the biggest slates I can remember on one day. We've got Penn State, Michigan. We've got Alabama, Tennessee. We've got OSU, TCU. We've got even NC State and Syracuse. That's a top 20 matchup. Who would have thought that? And then at night, we get USC going to Utah. Clemson, Florida State's always a fun game with two power name teams. And Mississippi State, Kentucky's a top 25 matchup. So as I get set here to move all these games over, what would you say is the one that stands out to you the most?
I think with how good Ohio State is, I think Penn State, Michigan stands out to me because you figure you'd probably pick Ohio State to win both those games against them. So I think this game for them could really decide. It's going to really decide who. Because the loser is going to have a tough time, where the winner can maybe afford one loss to Ohio State if you get help from another spot. So I think that one is huge on that sense. And obviously, you can go with the ranked one in Alabama, Tennessee. But I don't know. I think that one stands out to me the most just because of what could follow it.
You could pick.
I'm sorry.
I'm still trying to get. I was like,
I spaced out.
Yeah.
My bad. I'd probably say the one game I'm actually looking forward to would be Alabama, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Besides Michigan and Penn State, just picking a different game, just to pick a different game. As much as I always want to look forward to, obviously my team, Oklahoma State, it's like I'm more intrigued what some other teams are doing. Because I've been kind of sweating bullets about the Oklahoma State game, just seeing how that goes.
Yeah, it'll be a crazy week. That's the thing I'm excited the most for. Just how many wild, weird games we're going to get. There's going to be a lot of crazy things happening, but we have a few to get to here as I am still trying
Here's
to
a trivia question while I finish this up.
Already.
My buddy sent this to me the other day. Can you name the two teams in college football that have won every game by double digits? And maybe you guys saw this on social media.
Maybe. I'm trying to think who did that. Trying to think here.
Actually, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's like I didn't see that, but gosh, that is
My buddy sent it to me. There's only two teams left that have won
there's
every
only
game by double digits.
Two teams. Trying to think, who would that have been? Oh man, I don't know. I'll say because Alabama obviously isn't it. Georgia obviously isn't it.
No.
Ohio State, no, they didn't. Did they beat Notre Dame by
Yeah, they beat it by double
Yeah,
digits.
they did. So I would say Ohio State's probably one of them. I want to say they're one of them at least. That just sounds correct. That is a thing they usually do. So I don't know. I'm trying to think who that would be. But
If anybody in the chat knows, chime
yeah,
in.
so if anyone in the chat wants to jump in or in the comments section when this thing gets uploaded to YouTube, you are more than welcome to join in.
It's like
This
really.
is bad. I'm trying to find. There's like one game I know I'm missing, and I can't remember because I was like, okay, we have 13 to talk about here. Oh, no, never mind. That is all 13. We're good. I can't count. That's a wonderful thing to know about today. So the first one here, I guess, Andrew, you can go ahead and reveal your answer here because I'm trying to think. I cannot think of two.
They have the same abbreviation.
They have the same abbreviation. Okay. So then it would be Ohio State and Oklahoma.
No, Oklahoma State is not.
Oklahoma State hasn't. No.
No.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
No, wait.
Wait. Yeah, they
It's
did.
Ohio,
Yeah,
it's
wait,
Ohio,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
Ohio
What?
State,
Oh my
Oklahoma
God.
State.
Yeah.
I didn't think.
Yeah.
At
there
least
we go.
according to the tweet he sent me. I
Yeah.
cannot say I looked up the schedule and backed this up.
Yeah.
But according to what he sent me, it's
Yeah.
Ohio State, Oklahoma State.
14,
Yeah.
17.
Yeah, I was about to say because you beat Central
50
Michigan.
plus.
Yeah, you've blown every.
11.
Yeah,
Te-
because
yeah.
you beat Tech
You
by
got,
10.
you got the late,
Yeah,
the
you
late
got
touchdown,
the late
against Tech.
TD. So there you go. Well, Ohio State's on a bye, so they'll get to keep their end of the bargain. We'll see what OSU does.
They're
in
going
Fort
to
Worth.
TCU. That'd be
Yeah.
tough to win by double
That's
digits.
gonna be
but-
tough. This one not so tough. Georgia's taking on Vandy. Dogs are 38-point favorites in this one. We did this when Alabama played Vandy. We know Georgia's going to win this game unless Vandy does what they did against Ole Miss for a half where they were up 20-10 and it made no sense whatsoever. So the more important question, can Vandy cover? It's a 38-point spread. Can the Commodores cover?
I'm going Vandy.
There you go.
38 is still. 38. I get Vandy's not good, but it could be 37. It could be 35. That's covering. I'm gonna go cover.
I think Vandy covers.
I think Vandy finds a way. They might lose by 35, but you can't tell me Vandy's worse than Auburn at this point. Vandy at least looks semi-competent at times out there. Georgia blew out Auburn, and I mean that was not a close game at all, but it was still 32.
I was say, plus you look at Georgia. I mean, the only team they would have covered that against would have been South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina of all
So,
people.
I mean, they're just not covering the spreads in some of those blowouts like they're supposed to.
Yeah, they're putting their backups in and kind of mixing in the second quarter and all that. But Dogs should be fine unless, absolute disaster happens to them, which I don't see happening. Now on to the real game. Alabama, Tennessee. It's a third Saturday in October, quite possibly unlike anything we've seen in a long time. Number 3 meets number 6 in Knoxville. Bama's a 7-point favorite. They started at 8.5. That's already been pushed down to 7. We do not know if Bryce Young is starting or not. It would surprise me if he didn't. Let me say that. I think he's going to play. But, man, these are two high-powered offenses, two really good defenses. This is the game. Everything has been building up for Tennessee. This is the game they've been trying to get to for the past decade now. This big game, can they finally knock off Bama at home in prime time for them at that 2:30 CBS slot? Can the Vols finally do it?
As much as I think a lot of us would love to see just Alabama lose pretty much at any point during the year. But it's like this one, it's just like if Bryce Young plays, I think it'll favor Alabama because obviously he's a huge difference maker for that offense. But if you have the backup that's in for Crimson Tide, that could favor Tennessee, especially when it regards to a shootout. I think even though it's like obviously defensively Alabama's better than Tennessee, but Tennessee's still able to occasionally come through on that defense, but they give up quite a bit of yards. But Tennessee obviously makes up for it by having great offensive play. I mean, Hooker's just been playing out of his mind. I mean, 10 TDs, no INTs. Man, that could change Saturday, but who really knows about that? But at the end of the day, the way I'm looking at it, if Bryce Young plays, which I believe he will, I'm taking the Tide.
I'm going Tennessee. I think you have – well, here's why. Bryce Young's clearly not healthy. The fact that he's even questionable in a game like this shows you he's still limited in some cases. And in a game like this, that can backfire. And you look at some of the games, and I get they ended up pulling away from Arkansas, but a lot of that game was close for a little bit in that first half. Alabama hasn't looked like the same team on the road. You saw that when they went down to Texas. You saw it a little bit in the Arkansas game. And again, if Bryce Young isn't 100% in a game like this, that can come back to hurt you. And I get it. He will probably play. I agree with both of you. But in a way, he's not 100%. I think that's factual. And I think that's going to come back to hurt him. Like you said, Cade, when you were bringing this game in, both offenses have been tremendous. Both defenses have been tremendous. And they're gonna attack that way. They're going to try to get through the line. So I'm going to say Tennessee finds a way to win this game at home, a close game. To me, this just isn't the same dominating Alabama team you've seen year to year. They've shown signs of vulnerability, and I think with how hot Tennessee's been, especially these last few weeks, they're going to continue to get it done.
Yeah, to me, the whole thing with Tennessee, there are two ways that they win this game. Number one's if Bryce Young just doesn't play. Obviously, if you throw Milroe out there, if he does anywhere close to what he did against Texas A&M, he turns it over, even twice. You're losing this game. Tennessee will, punish you for that. The other thing is if Bama cannot run the ball. Tennessee only gives up 89 rushing yards a game. Their secondary, you can throw the ball on all day, but they bend, they don't break when they need that red zone stop. If Alabama can't do that, if Bryce Young is still gimpy out there, which I think he will be somewhat, it's going to get rough. And so I think Bama, they'll find a way. They'll get something on their defense to win this game. It'll be a lot like the Texas game. Bama will look horrible the entire game. Tennessee will be right there. But just something tells me Bama's defense is going to step up when it matters most. This will be a fun game. This will be an entertaining game. This will be a thrilling game. But this will be Alabama's game.
Can we move it to 7 o'clock?
I wish, man. But we
wish.
CBS blew their 7 o'clock game on Bama A&M last week. So that was their one they get for the year.
That's really dumb.
Well, they had to because of the Saban Jimbo drama the whole offseason.
And A&M was supposed to be pretty good
A&M
team.
was supposed to be good, but that's a tale as old as time.
Even then, it's like, how can you not do a 7 o'clock? But
No, this was supposed to be the A&M Alabama game.
Yeah.
Like, it was supposed to be the 3 versus top 10 matchup.
This was supposed to be the big-time matchup. But this one here is this was a game that if you would have looked at it 2 weeks ago and said, hey, we might have a big-time game on our hands. Clemson going to Tallahassee, taking on the Noles, but Florida State the past 2 weeks just has not been able to find it, getting beat by Wake at home 31-21. And then last week, literally throwing the game away against North Carolina State, losing 19-17 to a backup quarterback that threw the ball one time the whole game. So it was a rough week for Florida State. Now they're back at home. Clemson had quite possibly the ugliest 31-3 win you'll ever see in your life against Boston College. Struggled the whole first half, got it going when they absolutely had to. What Clemson will we see, to me, is the determiner in this one. Clemson, at home, perfectly fine. When they get on the road, though, they're a completely different team. Kind of like you mentioned with Alabama. They're a 3.5-point favorite, and boy, I buy that, because if it's any higher than that, I don't know how I'd feel about it. I think the Noles will keep it close. Jordan Travis can play well. But, man, I think Clemson finds a way to just slightly get that win. Kind of what they've been doing this whole year. They'll find a way. It'll be similar to the Wake and NC State games. They'll pull away later. I think they might cover that. Just barely get like a 4-point win or something like that. They'll pull away late.
I think for this one, it's like, I think it'll be a rough first quarter for mainly Clemson. I think the defense for Clemson will pretty much keep Florida State mostly in check. But I think Clemson overtime just overtakes the game and wins by, I'd say 13 or something like that. It'd be an ugly 13-point win, but I think Clemson gets it done.
I think this game's been pretty close. I think Clemson will find a way to win this game, especially with Florida State's struggles. But I think in the end, Clemson, they're just too good offensively and defensively to let a game like this go by against a struggling team. So I'll take Clemson in about a 27-21 game.
Yeah, also the other thing here, give Will Shipley the ball. Florida State's given up 155 rushing yards. They're a more balanced defense, which usually is not a good for passing, not good for rushing. So we'll see what Will Shipley can do for the Tigers. Next one here, it's big noon, big game on big noon. Finally, Michigan gets an 11 a.m. kickoff that is not Maryland or Indiana or Iowa.
It's like the
they
big
get
noon,
Penn State.
It's like the big noon Michigan game that actually should have been big noon kickoff instead of the other ones, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Fox wants to air Michigan at 11 a.m. 4 straight weeks. That's their business, not mine. But the Nittany Lions are coming into this one undefeated as well. Man, a top 10 battle, two good defenses, two offenses that have struggled at times. Some of it more due to other things. I mean, Northwestern giving them a scare 17-7. That's what happens when you play in the rain all day and have 5 turnovers. Central Michigan didn't really give them much of a challenge, but you look at what Penn State's doing. They've slowly progressed, I would say, over the year. From that first game at Purdue all the way to what they've done, they look like a more complete team than I thought they would be. Michigan's had a few scares. I mean, Maryland was a tough game, and Iowa was, one of those where you look like you're winning comfortably. Iowa makes a few plays. That got close for a moment. Indiana was tied at halftime. Michigan's had their couple scares here, but they're still a 7-point favorite in this one.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see it that high. I'm obviously not surprised to see Michigan favored, but I don't know. To me, 2 top 10 teams seeing it 7 here is a little bit of a surprise with like you said, how well Penn State's been kind of progressing through the year while Michigan's had some scares. And I think you're going to get that here. I think Penn State's going to give them all they can handle. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be one possession pretty much throughout the game. But I'm going to lean Michigan here. I think Michigan finds a way to pull this one out as well. I think while they're both averaging over 30 points a game, I think the defenses are going to be really the key here, and I think you're going to get one of those Big Ten games like 20-17.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a good old-fashioned Big Ten game. I think with offenses coming at with both offenses getting scores at just the right time in regards to just make the game very competitive. I think Michigan's defense is just a tiny bit better than Penn State. Both teams are pretty much evenly matched. They're practically almost the same team, except the difference is in obviously yards allowed, but that's mainly because you had to go up against Purdue and give up a lot of yards there. But at the end of the day, because it's in Ann Arbor, if it was in Happy Valley, I probably would have leaned a bit more toward Penn State, but because it's in Ann Arbor and that home crowd's going to be a huge factor, I think Michigan will take it in a close one.
No, I think Michigan finds a way to win this game. J.J. McCarthy's going to have a good game. Blake Corum's going to have a few big runs. Penn State's going to keep it close. It'll be competitive all game, but I think Michigan gets one of those 24-17 type of wins, and Michigan begins their conquest to go 11-0 into the game against Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
But the next one also is a Fox game, and this one, we kind of had this trend last year in the Pac-12 of the popular upset that goes so far one way that it becomes an upset for the top 10 team. USC goes to Salt Lake City to take on the Utes, and Utah is a 3.5-point favorite despite getting beat by 10 at UCLA last week. So people love the must. They believe in Salt Lake City supremacy when it comes to the home crowd there. Can Utah ride the wave and upset a top 10 USC team?
I personally don't think so. I think the 42 number against UCLA scares me. I think USC's defense is doing better than I thought they would be doing this year. And I think USC gets the job done here on the road. I think it'll be a close game, but I think their offense and defense is going to be too much for Utah. I'll take USC in the end, 31-27.
I'm going to disagree on that. I think Utah will rebound from the UCLA game and pretty much take one from USC. I think some of the it seems like I know it's like USC offensively has played much better since the Oregon State game. I mean, 42-30, but I think you're finally going up against a team that actually can play at least some form of real defense, even though it seems like statistically they're kind of more of a balanced defense in a way. But I think Utah just gets it done.
To me, this one's all about matchups. Utah could be 2-4, and I would still believe in them to win this game at Salt Lake City for about 2 reasons here. Number one, Utah's physicality. They are a team that they love to be physical. They want to hit you. They want to play power run game. Cam Rising's going to do a lot of QB runs. That's Utah's MO. That's what they want to do. That does not work well against USC. You know why? We saw Oregon State do this to them in Corvallis. It was an ugly game. That's how they want to play. And it was a 17-14 game that took all of Caleb Williams' might to pull that win out. To me, this is a game that screams Utah wins. Now, will it be a blowout? No. This is not going to be Utah-Oregon last year. This will be a hard-fought game. This will be a fun game. I think Utah pulls away at the end and gets one of those 35-31 type wins. But it should be a good one. I wouldn't be surprised if USC won this game and pulled it out. Caleb Williams and that offense, they absolutely can score on anybody. As we saw, Utah, they've had some trouble this year when it comes to offenses like these. But I think Utah will find one of those 7-8-minute drives in them at some point, put their foot down, and USC won't know what to do. And the next one here, if you would have told me the Big 12 would be decided with OSU-TCU as the highest-ranked game early on in the season, I would have said, okay, that's a pretty funny joke. I don't know if TCU's going 5-0, but okay. I expected OSU to be here. I don't think anyone expected the Frogs to be here except maybe the most diehard of TCU fans. But people believe in the Frogs, and so does Vegas. TCU a 4-point favorite in this one. That offense has been humming on TCU's side as well. Defense has been a bit of a concern for the Frogs. OSU, it's been the kind of the same way. Their offenses look good. Spencer Sanders has played well. Had not as good of a game against Texas Tech, and they still put 41 up on the board. But when you give up 25 to Baylor, you give up 31 to Texas Tech, you're starting to see a few of those cracks in the secondary for OSU. If they can get that patched up, we'll see what happens when they go to Fort Worth. Also a sellout crowd in Fort Worth as well. A lot of OSU fans planning on making the trip down or already in that area.
I know a lot of people going to that game. I'm going to OSU.
Yeah, I would say the cracks showed in regards to the secondary just in the first game of the season for Oklahoma State. I mean, you give up 44.
Well, yeah, they did. I'm talking about slowly.
Even then, that's always been every OSU fan has been talking about that secondary, about how, can they at least get better as the season goes on. And obviously didn't help with Tech. You went up against a quarterback you knew nothing about, and they ran plays that you were not necessarily ready for or prepared for. So that's kind of what I think makes that 31 points kind of a bit, and that not exactly work. But even then, you still got to play better defense in the secondary. That's still no excuse for why you give up 31. But Tech's a good team, so I can't really be like, oh, how dare you give up 31. But this one's going to be this one I think is going to be obviously 68.5 points are right there for the over-under. So they're expecting each team to at least probably score around 30 to 40 points. Obviously, I would take the over on this game. But TCU overall, I think since they entered conference play, have played really good football. Oklahoma State obviously just kind of doing their thing. They obviously got the big win in Baylor, and then they survived a scare from Tech, which Tech seems to do that quite a bit. But this one, it's like I'm really nervous about this one, mainly because just I don't know if how the defense will handle TCU. Max Duggan has just rejuvenated his career after basically being given the second string spot behind Morris, and then goes down, and then you just show out pretty much. So I think at the end, with this one, I think OSU just finds a way to get the victory. I mean, it's going to be good scoring affair. Both TCU's defense isn't that overall that great, very shoddy in very different aspects, but they're still a good team that will make plays when they need to. But I think Oklahoma State will do just enough to win the game.
It's going to be a good game. I mean, I'm interested to see how OSU's defense handles a pretty balanced offensive attack from TCU, rushing and passing-wise, where, I mean, OSU's rushing defense has been pretty good. So you're going to have to put the hands into the passing game here for TCU because, I mean, if you're going off the way the season's gone, your rushing defense is going to hold their own against a rushing attack. And in the end, I think it's going to come down to Spencer Sanders. I mean, I think this is one, it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be kind of like one of those old-fashioned Bedlam games when it was Rudolph and Baker going toe-to-toe. I mean, I think it's going to be that high scoring. And I think here in this one, it's going to come down to can Sanders not turn the ball over. I mean, that's been his biggest weakness throughout his career. He's done a better job this year, but you saw one last week against Tech almost cost him. So, again, it's going to come down to can Sanders take care of the ball, and that's what scares me the most, in all honesty. And In the end, I think he can. I think OSU will win this game, and this is the start for OSU. This next 4 weeks are huge. You got 4 straight games against current ranked teams. Obviously, that can change week to week, but this is the one you got to get out and start this run here in these next 4 weeks pretty quick, and I think you're able to do that against TCU.
See, this is a fun one to me because, I've seen TCU too much now, a little bit, but this is a weird game to me because I could really see this one going either way. OSU doesn't have a lot of historical success in Fort Worth. Max Dugan's been playing amazing. He's been able to sling it on anyone. Quentin Johnson he is that dude at wide receiver. He's going to make some big catches no matter what you try to do. You can put 2 guys on him, 3 guys on him. He's going to find a way to make a play. The only thing that you mentioned, Andrew, and I agree with this is why I think OSU will win. OSU's able to stop the run. TCU is not able to stop the run. If Oklahoma State can get that balanced game going, take the pressure off of Spencer Sanders, give him some easier throws, if you can get Dominic Richardson running, which I think they can, I think Oklahoma State will find a way to win. But if they don't, you got to be ready for a shootout in Fort Worth, even more so than you thought, because then it's going to get brutal. But I think OSU, if they can just run the ball somewhat, they'll find a way to win this game. But do not overlook TCU. I don't know how you can overlook the number 13 team in the country, but do not do it.
Especially when they're favorite.
Yeah, they're the favorite, and everyone's been kind of sweating some bullets.
Yeah,
because I'm scared.
Well, I mean, do not overlook them because you know who's next week. Texas, and then you got Kansas State. Like you mentioned, Adrian, this is the stretch. If you're going to win, this is the stretch to do it.
The last game in that stretch is Kansas. I don't think they'll be ranked by that time.
You never know.
But
Kansas might come out, and Jason Bean might somehow become better than Jalen Daniels. Oh, man. It'll be fun for sure, though. Next one here, Auburn going to the Grove, taking on Ole Miss. Should be a game. I'm not going to say a good game because Auburn's a 15-point underdog in this one. Ole Miss they've been shaky at times. They got the big win over Kentucky. They turn around the next week and get down double digits to Vandy in the first half, have to come back, rally, and end up blowing out the Commodores. But, man, Ole Miss has looked shaky at times. Auburn as well. Auburn. There's nothing else I could say about that one for them. What in the world is going to happen in this one? Which teams are we getting here?
I think you're going to get a 20-point win by Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is going to come out here and get the job done pretty quick. I can't trust Auburn's offense or defense. Well, if Ole Miss struggles on one side, the other side will pick each other up, and I think both sides will come out here. But I think you get a 20-point win here for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss pretty much take care of business, especially with this being at home. Think that crowd will help rejuvenate that offense, and they'll just pretty much tear Auburn apart, and they'll beat up Auburn defensively.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss. I think they'll get the win, but I don't know. This feels like good Auburn's going to show up for a quarter or two, make this a game. Ole Miss will cover, but it'll be one of those like, how did you only win by 17 type of games? But I think the Rebels get the job done here. The next one, though, this is kind of one flying under the radar. It's an ACC network game at 2:30. NC State at Syracuse. The Cuse are 5-0, I should say. But, man, you look at what they've been able to do this year. They're 3.5-point favorites at home. This is an interesting team. Garrett Schrader's been playing great for the Cuse. I really don't know how to feel about this one because if NC State gets Devin Leary back, you've got that battle there of how good is NC State's offense now that they're fully operational. But, man, it is going to be a battle in the not Carrier Dome anymore. I don't remember what their name of it is, but it's a dome. They still play in it.
I think it's going to be a great game. I think Syracuse is starting to surprise some people, and I think this is, it's not on a big network here, it's just on the ACC network. I think this is one just from the outcome that's going to even open up eyes more. I think Syracuse is able to get the job done at home here, and they continue the hot stretch here in the season.
Yeah, I think this one will kind of be Syracuse's first real test, see how they'll do against a solid NC State Wolfpack team. We'll just see how this Syracuse will actually step up. Obviously, they've offensively have played pretty good. Defensively, they've done a decent job. Obviously, that's mainly you've played against pretty much blew out Louisville. You blew out UConn. You had a close scare with Purdue, who's not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination because they have a good offense. You survive a scare with Virginia, and you blow out Wagner, blank them. But I don't really know how to feel about this one. I mean, I think in regards to battle tested, I would say the Wolfpack would take it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Syracuse gets an upset. Actually, I'll probably go upset. I think Syracuse continues to go 6-0.
Well, so this is another one of those what I like to call double upset games because NC State's the higher ranked team. So if Syracuse wins, that's a ranking upset. But Syracuse is favored. So if NC State wins, that's a Vegas upset. So you're getting an upset either way, whether it be ranking or by Vegas.
It's a good call.
Yeah, it's a good call. There you go. So, yes.
So real quick, it is now called the JMA Wireless Dome.
Okay. Huh. That's a dumb name.
That's a dumb.
Call it the Carrier Dome.
I'm just going to call it the Carrier
This
Dome.
is like when the Staples Center became like Crypto.com. Or it's like, no, you call it the Staples Center. I don't care.
Even the Thunder Stadium, just hearing a new name for them is weird, too.
Yeah. It's like
Paycom Center.
Paycom Center. No, it's
Ford Center.
Yeah, I still prefer the Ford Center going all the way back
it's
to
just
that.
easier. It's just easier, and we grew up with it.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, guys. But it doesn't matter what the name of the dome is. Syracuse is going to get this win here. The game will be played. I think Schrader balls out. We're going to see what Syracuse is all about in this game, and I think they're going to bring it. And we're going to talk about a 6-0 Syracuse that will be in the top 15. And the next one here, Mississippi State taking on Kentucky. The Bulldogs, another one of those teams kind of flying under the radar for the most part. Then they upset Texas A&M, put them on some people's radar. Will Rogers, by the way, just to talk about how fun this is, because Mike Leach offenses are always fun. If you look at that, 22 touchdown passes already this season at 3 interceptions, and he has broken the SEC record for most completions by any quarterback. Aaron Murray at Georgia did it in 52 games. Will Rogers has done it in 28. That's the power of that is your offense on Mike Leach, basically. But Mississippi State, they're 5-1. They're playing Kentucky, big top 25 matchup here on the SEC network. Bulldogs are a 4-point favorite in this one.
Who did Mississippi State lose to?
They lost to LSU by 15.
Gee, man. Yet they're
SEC power.
They're playing like a much different team now.
Yeah, well, they always. That's Mike Leach,
Mike
though.
Leach for you. These wild card. They're just
You're
such
either
a
dropping
wild.
50 or 10.
But Kentucky's hitting a really bad stretch. Obviously, you didn't have Levis last week, but that's still no excuse. You lost to a not so great South Carolina team. I think I'm picking Mississippi State. Mississippi State's just playing really good football. I think they'll probably drop about 40 on Kentucky.
I would pick Mississippi State as well. Kentucky's run game continues to be pretty concerning, and I think it's going to continue to struggle this weekend. And until they get that figured out, I think they're going to continue to struggle. And I think you're going to see it in a ranked game here. It's really going to come back and backfire. And I'll take Mississippi State, and I think they cover the 4 points, honestly.
Yeah, so Kentucky's offense has been one-dimensional one way or the other this entire year. You miss Levis last week. You'd missed Rodriguez almost the entire start of the season. We've not seen a fully healthy Kentucky team. I still don't think we're going to see a fully healthy Kentucky team this week. Mississippi State will win, and they might cover that over under 49 by themselves if you're not careful. But the next one here, tell me if you've heard this one before. You're a ranked team in an Oklahoma-Kansas game. Oh, wait, it's the Jayhawks that are ranked. They're 5-1. Oklahoma is a 9-point favorite, however. The return of Dylan Gabriel. New uniforms announced for Oklahoma, going to be wearing the gray for the first time ever. So that's going to be interesting to see. This is going to be the make-or-break game for both teams here. No Jalen Daniels in this one. Jason Bean going to be the starter for the Jayhawks.
For the rest of the season.
For at least this week. I don't know. Jalen Daniels tweeting out, yesterday that the rumor of him being out for the season was not true.
Oh,
so
right.
We have no idea what Kansas is going to bring starting next week. We do know this week, though, it is going to be Jason Bean at quarterback. And, man, I really don't know how to feel about this game. I really don't. As much as I wanted OU to win, I don't know if they can. I really don't, and I didn't think I'd be saying that about Kansas, of all people, but this is the world we live in.
Well, I would say, obviously, Jayhawks didn't have the best first half. I mean, neither them or TCU had the best first half, but they both balled out in that second half, and Beam just lit that TCU Horned Frog defense up throughout the whole that second half. And I think he continues to do that on a very weak OU secondary. And I'm picking the Jayhawks to win this one. They're just overall together a much better team than OU. I mean, OU's given up average over 200 yards both on the pass and run game. That's not very good, especially the run game. That's really bad. But even with Dylan Gabriel will make this game a pretty good one, but I don't think it'll be enough. He'll make some mistakes that will probably cost Sooners a couple of drives.
I'm going to disagree. I think Gabriel doesn't make those mistakes. I think with him being back, it's going to be a big motivational spot here. I think OU's obviously they're desperate for a win at this, like to get that 3-game losing streak out of the way, and I think with Beam coming into OU, I think it's going to be too much for him. I know it sounds crazy after he played well when he came in last week. We got to remember when a guy comes in, the defense doesn't prepare for a quarterback like that. So that's an advantage for the quarterback. I think OU is able to prepare for him for this week, and I think OU is able to get the job done at home. And I think they end that losing streak.
So to me, I want to pick Oklahoma. I really do. I think they can win this game. You got Dylan Gabriel back. The offense should be back to normal. We'll start seeing our receivers getting the ball more. Eric Gray, Marcus Major, Javonte Barnes. Everyone is fine at running back. But I just can't trust our defense. I legitimately cannot trust them to, guard a telephone pole, basically. You can put anyone at quarterback at this point, and they'll have a big day on Oklahoma. We saw this with Adrian Martinez. We saw this with Max Duggan. We saw this with Quinn Ewers. The only person we didn't see this, surprisingly enough, was Casey Thompson, which I'm sure if Nebraska could have that game back, they would love to right now. I think Kansas finds a way to get the job done, and I hate saying it, but I think they win in a more shootout-type game. I just can't trust our defense to do anything at this point.
That's basically the main concern, the only reason why I picked Jayhawks. Even if Gabriel makes the mistakes, I wouldn't think that would be enough if OU had a better defense. But because the way the defense has played the last 3 weeks, it's really hard to pick them.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I was joking with you about it, Connor.
Yeah.
I was at the 2014 Baylor game where Baylor ran the same play 8 times in a row and we never figured it out. I have never seen a crowd that angry in my life. That might get topped this week. I've been telling people, get ready. If Kansas busts a 20, 30-yard run, it's happening. Boo Birds are going to be out. In addition to the alternate uniforms, in addition to the 11 a.m. kick, in addition to being 3-3, Kansas is trying to beat OU for the first time since 1997. They haven't beaten them in 17 straight tries. It might get ugly. And if it gets ugly, expect some interesting things you'll see on Twitter later that day. That's all I'll say. If they lose 4 in a row, someone might be in trouble. And I don't know if that's going to be a person at the stadium or near the stadium. Let's just say that. It'll be bad. But I think Kansas gets the win, and I will be sad. That's my pick for the day.
Sad boy.
I mean, unless they win. If they win, I'll be like, yay. It'll be like last year. I'll just be like, we beat Kansas. Look at this. We beat Kansas. It's like, wow, you beat Kansas. Wow, I'm so proud of you. But Texas will not have that problem. They're 16-point favorites against Iowa State, and for good reason. Texas looks like they found themselves again. They have a healthy Quinn Ewers. Hunter Dekkers is not that great of a quarterback, in my opinion, for Iowa State. Cyclones are 3-3. They've got the defense. They don't have the offense, though. And at times, they don't have the special teams either. So, Horns are a 16-point favorite in this one, and I think deservingly so.
Yeah, it seems like Texas has figured everything out. I think Texas wins this game. I'll take Iowa State against a 16-point spread. I mean, they're not – obviously, Iowa State's not a great team, but they've been in every game. I mean, they still play everybody close, and I think they'll do that with Texas for a while before Texas kind of gets a late score. But I'll take Texas in this one, 28-20.
I'll take Texas to win this one, but Iowa State's going to make this game really close. I understand the way Texas played against OU. They made it a 16-point spread, but it's like if you look at how Cyclones have played against every team they've been against, their defense shuts everybody out. Plays really good. Obviously, Baylor is kind of that outlier of a team that's been able to score more than 20 points on them. Actually, they're really the only team that's actually gotten over past 15 points. But I think Texas does win this one. I think it takes a late effort from Quinn Ewers, probably early fourth quarter, and then they kind of just cruise to a victory after that.
Yeah, I think Texas gets off to a hot start here. To me, this just feels like Iowa State gets a backdoor cover to only get beat by 14 or something like that. I don't know why. Just the way Texas is playing right now that they're going to be back at full strength, even when they weren't at full strength, they did a pretty good job handling West Virginia. I think we're starting to see the Texas team they've been wanting for years, and that would concern me. If we hadn't already played them, that would concern me. But OU's just out here. We're just vibing, not in a good way though. But I think
it is a vibe, though.
It is a vibe. It's not the correct vibe. But the next one here, Minnesota taking on Illinois. Illini ranked for the first time in, forever it feels like with them as well. They are a 6.5-point home underdog, though, because good old Mo Ibrahim is coming back for the Golden Gophers. He has not played since the Michigan State win. He was out for the Purdue loss. When Minnesota's fully healthy, that is a hard team to stop. That's why they're a 6.5-point favorite.
Without question. I mean, what about this defensive battle, though? I mean, two good defensive teams. Neither team's good on more than 10 points a game. So it's going to be a fight here for both teams to see which one can get it done. I don't know. I'm tempted to pick the upset. I think they can definitely cover the 6.5. But in the end, I'll go a close Minnesota win. We'll go 23-21.
Yeah, I'm probably around the same ballpark. Minnesota, obviously, they're coming off a loss to Purdue, and then then Illinois came off a 9-6 win against Iowa. Obviously, two very widely different teams in regards to play style for who each team played. But I think Minnesota will just. I think with them being more at full strength, I think they'll just take it from Illinois.
Yeah, I think Minnesota comes back and they prove a point. They're going to try to beat up Illinois. This is going to be a fun game, but man, I think Minnesota gets the win. They might win this thing by double digits. The Gophers, when they're at full strength, that is a hard team to stop, and they get back on track to try and win that Big Ten West that it seems no one really wants to win.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the final game to talk about, historically, this is a big day. James Madison ranked for the first time ever in the AP poll. Why are they ranked for the first time ever? Well, it's their first year in FBS. They're an FCS team last year. It took them 5 games. They're already number 25 in the country, and they're looking to go up from here. They're taking on Georgia Southern, who is 3-3. Big game in Statesboro. The Dukes are 11.5-point favorites over the Eagles.
Yeah, I think they win this game, and I think they cover. I mean, the Eagles' defense not that strong. You have James Madison who can put up a lot of points, and I think you're going to see it in this game. And I think they take care of business. They don't get that first ranking kind of too much for them. You kind of see it mentally sometimes hurt some teams, but I think they'll be just fine. They get the job done here on Saturday.
Yeah, they'll continue to stay undefeated. James Madison's just playing some really good football right now.
I agree. I think the Dukes take it. This will be a double-digit win for them. They'll cover the spread. And we got to keep following this JMU story because now here they are. Don't forget the bowl ban and everything, or the bowl. I guess it is a ban. The transition period they have, so they could pull that 12-0 and still not get to go anywhere.
Which I don't understand.
I don't understand it either. But
it's like, for me, it's different from like for instance, like obviously here at Northwestern, we went from NAIA to Division II, widely different in talent. While as FCS and FBS, the only difference is that really certain teams, but it's like they're still Division I. So to me, it's like there really shouldn't be much of a transition period, like at all from them, because you're still both Division I at the end of the day. So it's like I feel like there shouldn't be anyone between FBF and FCS, but it is it's whatever.
Yeah. Well, now that we've kind of gone through the big games in college football, are there any other games that stand out to you?
I mean, not a good game, but I think you just missed the Notre Dame-Stanford rivalry with both them kind of struggling a little bit, especially Notre Dame. But that one kind of usually is a pretty big game. That one kind of gets thrown out the window this year.
Yeah. And depending on how things would have went with Oregon State, and Washington State, I would say that's probably a decent game to do, but it is what it is.
The LSU Florida could be fun just because that's a big rivalry game. There are two teams trying to claw their way back to success, so that could be fun. But as always, everybody, we thank you for tuning in. It has been a fun time, as always, on this channel. If you like the video, you can be sure to Subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Guys Who Stare at Stats. Like the video, comment. If you agree with us, disagree with us, have your own opinion, go for it. That's what that comment section is there for. If you're watching this here on Twitch, be sure to give us a follow at NWTV7. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at NWTV7, to find anything update-wise going on either around campus here at Northwestern or for our shows here. But for Connor Gray, Andrew Santangelo, I am Cade Kennedy, and have a good weekend, everybody.